Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's Blake Daly here, and today I'm going to bring you some fresh content about how you can get started in 2021 with your first Airbnb rental. This is something that's been on my mind a lot recently as we've done a couple acquisitions lately with old motels and lodges here in Panama City Beach and out in South Lake Tahoe that have like 14 to 18 units in them. So we've been building a lot of listings, putting a lot of things in place, and scaling up to what'll be by Wednesday of next week, 61 total units that we have that are short-term rentals. So with all that, I've been thinking a lot, building out these systems. I wanted to show you guys what you can do to get your first rental coming up here by the end of 2021. Before we get into the video, absolutely destroy the like and subscribe button. There's going to be a lot more good Airbnb and real estate investing content to come. So do me a favor, it helps the YouTube algorithm. Click that like and subscribe button. Let's get back to the video. So the reason I wanted to get into this now is because 2021 has outdone 2020 in a big way. And 2020 was surprisingly a really good year, especially for Airbnbs. Hotels got hit hard, but in that, all that demand went to the Airbnbs. And the places that really benefited were places like Panama City Beach, where I'm at, the Smoky Mountains, all the national parks and outdoor places where people can go, not to like New York City or LA where they're really crowded. So 2021 has been an awesome year. A lot of short-term rental hosts are saying that, and I've seen their data and I've seen mine, and I know it's a really good year. So I want you guys to get on this trend now while it's still hot, and I think it's still building up. We'll talk about why that is in a little bit, but let's get into it. So why would you even want to rent your property on Airbnb rather than going the long-term rental route? Because when you think about it, long-term rentals, you put people in there for a year lease. They're in there for a full year. You only talk to them like when they have maintenance issues or things like that, compared to when you rent your property as a short-term rental. You're having guests come in multiple times a week. The average stay is 1 to 7 days. So you're going to be having multiple people a week usually check into your place, which is, you could have 100 guests a year doing it like that, whereas you have one guest for 1 year with the long-term. So let's talk about the returns and why Airbnb has perks over the long-term rental. So with long-term rentals, you typically have anywhere from a 10 to 15% return. So that's like your cash on cash return, the amount you put in, you get back. That determines your cash on cash return. So you're talking about 10 to 15%. And I typically, myself, wouldn't do a deal that's less than 15%, but I implement what's called the BRRRR strategy. So that's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So that's the BRRRR strategy. And that's what I even do with my short-term rentals. So talking about a 10 to 15% return, when you contrast that with short-term rentals, the return metrics usually start in like the 20% range for not good hosts, and can be anywhere from 20 to 50% returns. And for mine, implementing the BRRRR strategy, I do that same thing with short-term rentals, and I've actually been able to refinance all of my money out. So I get my money back, it's back here, it's safe, I keep it, and then put it into the next deal. So doing that, I've actually been able to get infinite returns using this strategy. And I guess that can be said for long-term rentals as well. But with the short-term rentals, you're having 3 to 5x of your cash flow. So, typically a house that would rent here for $1,500 a month is typically bringing in $4,500 to $5,000 a month on Airbnb. So that's what I'm seeing in my market, and that's like that many other places. So you can get a lot more cash flow and a higher ROI, return on investment, with short-term rentals. All right, so that's why you would choose short-term rentals over long-term rentals. So let's get into the actual tips to get your first one this year. So tip 1 is start in your own backyard. And I mean that almost literally. So my first property ever, I bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with an attached guest suite, mother-in-law suite, whatever you want to call it. Had its own separate entrance, had a kitchen, and had its own full bathroom. So it was like a standalone unit. We thought about renting that as a long-term rental. So this being an investment property, I was really trying to offset my mortgage with my income from the rental. I knew I couldn't do that as a long-term rental. So I thought, let's put this thing on Airbnb and see what we can get from it. And actually ended up doing really, really well. It paid off all of our expenses down to the Wi-Fi. And we actually pocketed $100 of pure net cash flow every month. So in the next property I bought was only 8 blocks away. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house again, this time with a detached guest suite, and it had a pool in the middle. So the pool was really the only difference. And then because I had almost the exact same house, I had my own perfect comp. So that's a part about knowing your market, knowing your area, and knowing your neighborhood. So I knew that at the very least, that new house will do about just the same as mine would, conservatively, because it has the pool. So I knew it would, be an extra amenity for the short-term rental guests. And it turns out I was right. It actually did it just a little bit better because with the pool. So know your market really well. And you can start just that same way, doing a house hack. So that's how you could literally get started in your backyard. But when I say your backyard, I mean like your general area, like the market that you live in. So that does one of two things for you. One, it keeps it simple for you so you don't have to focus on a bunch of different markets, just inundating yourself with data that makes it hard for you to make a decision. And two, it lets you get really, really familiar with your market, with the numbers, with the rents, with the occupancy rates, all those different kind of things. Now, ways you can do this, buy this first Airbnb rental is one, you could house hack it just like I did. So you could buy a house to live in and find something that has the extra rentable space for you to rent out. That can be an attached guest suite. It could be, a basement. You can even start with a bedroom. Just something to get income coming in, right? It gets you familiar with building the listings, the whole process, and managing that money that's coming in. So it's a really good way. So you could house hack, and how you could get in for a low amount, this being your first investment property, or maybe it's just your first Airbnb property. You could get an FHA loan, which is only 3.5% down of the purchase price. You could also do, if you're active duty military or a veteran, you could use the VA loan and get in for 0% down. And what's cool, what 2020 and the last year have proven is that rural Airbnbs actually do really well. So with that, you could use the USDA loan, which is also 0% down, to go get a rural property that maybe is out in the woods, maybe it's a farmhouse or something like that, and get your first rental with 0% down using that USDA loan. Now, what if the market you live in is not good for rental? Maybe you live in the middle of Kansas somewhere. Side note, I remember driving back from Colorado to Indiana, taking I-70 through Kansas, and it was the worst drive ever, and I couldn't imagine anybody staying there. I remember seeing a car drive off one of the exits one time, and I was just thinking, didn't see a single structure, and I was just, where is that car going? But anyway, enough about Kansas. So if your market is not good to buy, look at places you like vacationing, because the chances are other people do too. And say it's by the beach or it's in the mountains, there's demand there for these vacation spots that if you like visiting there, you can buy a property and rent it out to vacationers when you're not there. And then you get the added perk of you get to use it 2 weeks out of the year, 3 weeks out of the year, however much you want to go there. And to get into that for a lower amount down, you can use what's called a vacation home loan, or some banks might call it the second home loan, which is 10% down of the purchase price. Again, gets you a lower amount out of pocket than a conventional mortgage, which is usually 20 to 25% down. So these are just little tips to start out in your local market if you can with a house hack, or it doesn't even have to be a house hack, but you could get a conventional mortgage on the property and just turn it into an Airbnb rental. Or if your immediate market isn't good, find a vacation spot that you like to go to, buy a property there and rent it out. Now, quick sidebar on how to find rental rates and know what to expect, especially if you're going to go out of your market that's not familiar with you yet. So what I want to do is show you how to find some of this data. All right, so I'm here on Airbnb and I just typed in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I know this is a good vacation rental market. And this is a good example to talk about this. So I'm just going to scroll down here and find an example listing. All right, this one says brand new luxury getaway in the Smokies. Seems pretty cool, and they're a super host, so let's click on this one. So clicking through here, looks pretty good, right? You can see the photos. This is a place that you'd probably like to stay. But what I want to show you about how to find the data is going down right here. So let's check their availability. This is going to give you insight to what their calendar looks like. So it looks like for the rest of the month, they have no free days. For the rest of September, they have no free days. In October, it looks like they are completely booked out for the rest of the year, at least until November. They got 2 days available in November. So this right here shows you this is a very strong market with really high occupancy rates, which is good for you as an investor. So let's just click on these dates, 2-night minimum, checkout date, 2-night minimum. There we go. So now 257. So Airbnb does that little trick that it shows you just maybe their base price, but when you select the actual date, you can see their real price. So this is 250 in November. So that's getting into low season in this market. So $250 a night. And I'm just going to bring up my calendar here to give you my calculator, not my calendar, my calculator to give you an idea. So let's say 250, and it showed that they had 2 available nights in 3 months. Let's be conservative and say starting out you could book it for 23 nights out of the 30 nights available, and that'd be like roughly 70% occupancy. So let's times 23. So you can bring in $5,700 a month times 12, almost 70,000 a year. And that's not even, and that's the low season prices. So that's probably a good, maybe annual average number. So 70,000 in this market, that's pretty good. Now what I want to go into is to, aggregate a bunch of data. So you can do that same exact thing, but gather some more data. So go in here, back to this listings, and look up multiple of these, right? Do this a couple different times so you can get a feel for, the calendar availability of multiple listings in the area, the rates that they're charging, and then you can even model your listing after these, because if that's a good one, that's what guests are looking for. Another tip to get really good data is AirDNA. So this aggregates all the data of a market, and I typed in the same exact thing, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and it shows it's an A+ market with 100 out of investability. This shows you the average daily rate, the occupancy rates, and the revenue you can expect, and then shows you all these listings that you can actually click on and look at like every available listing. So what this does, AirDNA is basically like a crawler that crawls through Airbnb and VRBO and extracts all the data from all the different listings to give one comprehensive spot where it all lives. So this is a really good source. This is what I use in my own business when analyzing and purchasing properties. So you can scroll through here, see where most of the listings live. Definitely is going to benefit you in the market like this to have it listed on both. Shows you the hot items of the listings. And this is one I really like. Look at this revenue growth. It shows you by quarter here. And this is just up and to the right. So this is a really good market to buy into, and prices are appreciating too. So you can buy a house, is going to go up in value, and the rental rates are going to go up. Good market to buy. Shows you all the amenities, gives you the average ranking, and a lot of good data on here. And then you can even go to top properties. This gives you the top 12 properties in this entire market. Let's just click on this one, for example. Now look at this one. Really immaculate place, $950 a night. That is crazy. And they are booked up as well. So could you imagine that? Buying houses probably, say $1 million home, but if you could charge $950 times that same 23, wow, almost $22,000 a month. That'd be crazy. All right, so those are two really good ways to go find data. You can do it manually on Airbnb if you don't want to pay for AirDNA, but if you can, AirDNA is a great source. So tip 2 is, once you identify your market and where you're going to buy, figure out how you're going to finance this thing. So that's why I alluded to a little bit before. You could do the FHA loan, the VA loan, USDA loan, or a second home loan. So you have 4 really good loan options that you could use. And then that's before even talking about, partnerships or any other kind of creative finance. Say you found an off-market deal and can negotiate seller financing. So that's, again, a real estate investor and me coming out. I love trying to find, put together a really good deal like that. But those loan options are going to be the best way for you to get in with the lowest amount out of your pocket possible, so that you can put more money into furnishings and all this other stuff to make your listing look really good. So if you don't have the money to do this yourself, do not freak out. All right, I don't want you to put up a wall or put on your blinders or whatever if you're somebody that might not have the cash to do this yourself, because the amazing part is you can partner with other people, right? Airbnb is a hot strategy right now. There's a bunch of people out there who want to get involved right now. So find ways that you can link up with those people. Maybe it's borrowing money from a family member. You can also do things like, if you have a really great credit but no money, you could be the one to sign on a loan and get the down payment from somebody else. So there's options. So talk with other people, network, and make it happen. You make money in real estate by solving problems. And if you don't have money, that's a problem. Go find a way to solve it. So tip 3 is, once you know where you're going to buy and then how you're going to buy it and finance it, the third tip is furnish it and get it set up looking really nice, hip, trendy, that when people see the photos, they're going to book it. So the best ways I like to do this are, 1, look at other listings. Look what is working already in that market. If you're buying in the mountains, you probably want to go with a mountain cabin theme. So if you're doing coastal, you want to do something with the sea, So we've got a seahorse room and a dolphin room at one of our new properties that it's going to come in really nice with the sea kind of beachy theme. So do things like that to stick out. And a tip within a tip is to get on Facebook Marketplace and try to find your furnishing items. You would be so surprised of what you can find on Facebook Marketplace. I think our first 4 or 5 listings we got almost exclusively off of Facebook Marketplace. So you can get everything else and fill in the gaps from stores like Ross and Home Goods, and my favorite, which is local thrift shops and antique shops, to really get local items that are unique to your location. You can also use Amazon and IKEA and get stuff delivered right to you, which makes it a lot easier. So tip 4 is optimize your listing. So this is where your inner creative gets to come out and you can really put your own voice to it. So find your voice in your listing. How do you want to create the atmosphere? And it all starts with your listing. Describe the space really well. Call out all your amenities in the listing. Like, do you have a pool? Do you have memory foam mattresses? Do you have a fully stocked kitchen? All this stuff, call that out. But on the flip side of that, also call out your negatives. I want to call out every single one, but if there's construction in the area, like this is a good example, call that out so people know what to expect. And really what you want to do is manage the expectations with this listing. And if you guys want an example, click the link below. It's to our live listing in South Lake Tahoe at our boutique hotel property we just bought there. Look at things like our voice, how we described the space, how we called out the negatives. It's a pretty good example. So that's the Moose and Maple Lodge. Check that out below. And also, if this is something that you want to do this year and you want to start as a host on Airbnb, Airbnb wants to incentivize hosts to get more hosts on the platform. So don't leave money on the table because they want to pay you for signing up. And Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky said that the platform needs like 1 million more hosts because of the demand that they're seeing and expect in the coming year or so. So definitely take that as a sign, like get in now, it's hot, and you can create your listing, establish your reviews, and get higher in the search rankings now before it gets saturated. So take advantage of that. The 5th and final tip on this is to start with one platform. And I recommend Airbnb. Obviously, that's what we've been talking a lot is Airbnb rentals. But the reason you want to do that is because you want to build up your reviews on one platform, right? If you're on Airbnb and VRBO and TripAdvisor, and you're accepting guests from all these different places, if they're evenly spaced out, you get a third, and a third, right? And you don't want that. You'd rather concentrate all your reviews early because that helps you get up in the search rankings. It helps your listing stand out from others, which ultimately turns into more bookings for you. So really establish yourself on one platform. And if you want to expand to more, do that, at least a year after you have your initial one set up, because it's so important to drive your search rankings on the platform and stand out. All right, guys, so those are my 5 tips for you to get an Airbnb this year and set it up and start making money. And this is a very, very fun process, right? You got to create and design your own spaces, or you can pay a little bit more for somebody to do it for you who might do it better. So I don't know about all your creative abilities, but my wife and I find a lot of fun in setting up these spaces, especially when we're buying, old dumpy houses, doing a complete renovation on them and turning it into a really nice functional space for guests. That's what we really like doing. I mean, the financial rewards on this strategy are amazing. You can get 3 to 5x of your cash flow that you would as a long-term rental and still get all the same benefits of owning real estate, like the tax advantages, the passive income, all that kind of stuff. And doing this strategy allowed me to have my net cash flow surpass my W-2 in only 1 year. So I really believe in this strategy. I'm a big proponent of it. I have long-term rentals too, but I love this Airbnb strategy. I mean, we're doing it on 4 commercial properties right now. That's a big project, but it's because I've seen the power of this strategy. So I want you guys to embark on this journey as well. If you guys have comments, leave them below. I'll try to answer any questions, Airbnb related or real estate related that pop up. This stuff gets me excited. So happy to help as much as I can. Hey, and before we get out of here, if you guys want, go follow me on Instagram. You'll get to see a lot more behind the scenes of my properties, of the rehabs, of the finished products, all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to put more content out there for you guys because I think it's really valuable and really helpful. And that's the stuff that I like to see when I'm scrolling, is like the actionable how-tos and the examples of what actual investors are doing. So go check that out. And definitely subscribe before you leave. If you made it this far, I hope you liked the video. Subscribe. I'm going to have future videos about managing your listings and how to actually set up the listing. So those are coming soon. I wanted to talk about how you could get in, and then we'll take the steps to manage it and build it once you have that first rental or whatever. Just building the ideas behind it right now. So hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. And if you guys want an example, I put a link below, a link below, link below, link and logs, link below. All right. I don't know about your,